Hello and welcome, I'm Drew Hales, and this is a competitive review on Super Smash Bros. Brawl Project M mod. And there's going to be a bunch of categories, and they can either get a score good, passable, or bad. Good gets 2 points, passable gets 1, and bad gets no points. And the categories are the controls, character balance, map stages, and the skill gap between a normal player and a competitive player. And that's a total of 8 points. So let's get into the review. So the first category I'm going to be talking about is controls. Now the controls of this game, you can do multiple ways. You can use the Wiimote with a nunchuck, the Wiimote with a class controller, or a GameCube controller. And when you're in an event, or you're going to some LAN event where they're playing it competitively, you're gonna have to have a GameCube controller because that's what everyone uses. Like, when you see an event, there is 0 people using other controllers, so you're gonna need a GameCube controller to play this game competitively. So that's one thing you have to take note. And the controls in this game are really good. You never feel like what you're pressing is not working, and it always is responsive and quick paced. It's never like sluggish, and what you press takes time to load in the game. Everything's quick and responsive, and the controls are good. So they get a good from me. Now on to the next thing. Now for character balance, all the characters are good. No one seems more overpowered than another. Some characters are weaker than the rest. Like, some of the heavy characters are just kind of worthless, and then some characters are just not as good. But most characters are balanced, and it's just up to you to get better with one of the characters. Like, no character is going to be terrible. It's just how good you can be with it. And if you take a lot of time to play with the character, then you could get good with anything. But it's all based on your skill and not the character's skill, because everyone is pretty balanced. But some characters can beat other characters, like counter picks, like if it just counters your character. But all characters can beat most characters can beat most characters, and you just have to be good with the character to understand what matches he's good in and what matches is not good for that character. And the character balance is really good, so that gets another good. Maps and next thing is maps and stages, and most of the maps are really good, but some maps are just pretty bad. Like, some maps have, with Super Smash Bros., you know the regular gameplay of it, because this is for people who've played the game before. But it doesn't matter if it's Project M, which is the mod for Brawl, which makes it much faster paced and just overall more balanced and better suited for competitive. And for maps and stages, most of the maps are good, and they're all fun, and they play well. They've changed a lot of stages, so they don't have random elements, and they're not super big anymore. There are still some stages that are too big, and you seem like you're surviving forever. But those stages are few and far between. Most players don't pick those stages. But they got rid of all the stages that had random elements to them in Brawl, because some of the stages were just kind of pointless, and some stages moved and stuff, so when you try to recover, it moved and you couldn't recover. So it got rid of all the random elements of the game to make it more fair to just your skill and not the game just pulling out random tricks to kill you, which is obviously a good thing. Now, maps and stages is another good thing about this game. This game is really good, so it gets a lot of good. Now, the last category is skill gap, which is how good a pro is compared to a non-pro. Now with this, it has a big skill gap. There's a lot of things you have to learn while playing this compared to a professional, like most games. Skill gap is not small like a game that doesn't have a lot of hard controls or whatever. So the skill gap is pretty big. I give the skill cap a passable because it's hard to get into, but it's not the hardest to get into, and it's not super easy. So I give it a passable for skill gap wise. And good means it's really easy to get into. Bad means it's just way too hard to get into. So I give it the easy medium. You need to be more skilled than a regular player. So I give that a passable. So this game gets a 7 out of 8 because we talked about controls, character balance, maps, stages, and skill gaps, which all get 2 points if they get a good, for a total of 8 points. And skill gaps got a passable, so that's 7 out of 8, which is really good. I would recommend you try this game if you already like this game and want to try to see if you can play a little bit of get into competitive. It's really fun, and you learn a lot while playing competitive, and it's just an overall better experience when you play competitive. It's more fun. Now, for talking about the game a little, while I have some footage, the gameplay is you beat characters. You should obviously know, but for people who don't know, you beat up other characters until they're off the stage. And for competitive, they play with 4 stocks, which are basically your lives, and 4 stocks, and you can ban maps when you lose. When you win, and the player has to pick, and the loser picks the map. When they lose, it's best out of 3 or best out of 5. So if a person wins one map, loses the next, and wins the last one, they win. So the loser gets to pick the map, so the winner gets to ban some maps that he doesn't want the loser to pick. So that's another competitive element that they do. And I already told you another one about everyone uses GameCube controllers. And it's really fun, and if you want to try to get into it, you just have to find stuff. There's stuff on, there's things on Twitch, like VG Bootcamp, which streams a lot of Super Smash Brothers, Project M, and Melee. And I'm just going to talk about Project M a little bit as well. Project M is a mod for Melee. For Brawl. Sorry, not Melee. I just get confused sometimes because it says Project M, but it's for Brawl. And Brawl started to get out of the scene because it wasn't that great, and Project M just reinvigorates Brawl and gets rid of all the random elements and gives a lot more stages to the game, because some were just not allowed for the random elements, but now they can be played because there's no random elements. So it adds a lot of stages. It puts some new characters in. Like now you can play as Zero Suit Samus. You don't have to wait to evolve, and you can also play as Charizard, Squirtle, and the grass type. Which I'm sorry, I draw a blank to that. And you can also play as Roy. They added Roy into this game as well. And they balanced some characters, like Kirby got some new moves from older games, and characters got some new moves. And they changed up the characters and balanced them, so now Meta Knight is now viable, and he has new moves. Like his down Bs, I think, or down As, are new moves, and now you can play as Meta Knight. Like in Brawl, Meta Knight was banned because he was too good, but now he's balanced, and this game is really balanced. As I already said, in character balance, no one feels more powerful than another. So, thanks for watching this video overview of the competitive aspect of Brawl. I'm just going to leave you with this footage with some music. Thanks for watching. I'm Drew Hills, and goodbye.